Ta-da! Oh, I've just immediately smashed something. It was weird. My mic didn't unmute right at the start then. Hello. Enjoy being a mod, Steve. You've been promoted. It's just occurred to me I don't have my glasses on. I can't see without my glasses. Oh. Yeah, that is the plan. I like that sort of immediate. Oh, I just managed to open up the video, this live stream, which was weird because it caused the audio to play back. So enjoy that. That will be happening any second now. Yeah. Well, yeah, I like that the stream wasn't even online for that long, and these two people have already put spam links in. Just like straight away. Bloody weird. Who would put in like just a porn link as soon as the stream goes live? I guess I will for next time have to set up a bot to do it. But yeah, so since this is going to be recorded and actually put on YouTube to be watched, I should probably explain what I'm going to do because I don't know if the description really covered it. The idea is, for those of you interested, I sort of have a pet project of building a component-based framework from the ground up with as few third-party packages as possible. And I've been working on the container and a bunch of other packages. But one of the things I intend to do today is a sort of experiment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build a class mapper, which is going to scan a whole directory. It's going to map out a list of classes, create a class map the same way Composer does. It's then going to build up metadata about all of these classes using reflection so that in the future, dependency injection and anything else that wants to use attributes or anything that would typically involve reflection doesn't have to. It can just look up metadata, and part of the sort of deployment process for a production level application would involve this step. That's the plan. So it's going to be purely experimental today. I've played with it a bit. The idea works. So today I'm going to try and build an implementation called the Simple Inspector, or the SMPL Inspector, which stands for Simple Modern PHP Library. Hello, welcome to the stream. Enjoy. Is the music still playing in the background? It is still playing. They're all very short songs. Right, so let's look at some code. There you go, Steve. Do you like the transition? Also, you're close, like ish. So I'll tell you what, actually, which one is it? 4. Is this console? Or is it going to be browser? It's not. Wait, which one's browser? Console. There we go. I'm just trying to get used to these keys. So, here we go. So let's. Oh, obviously, I forgot to change the version of PHP to be using. The music is actually really quiet. I can turn it up a little bit. Is that coming through? that actually error? Is that because I've manually gone in and removed Apache from this machine? Okay, there we go. So install Composer, boom, done. So we're going to replace reflection with YAML because that's what everybody wants. So let me just build. I'm going to build a procedural class, a procedural PHP file. Let's just call it example.php. And you are relatively close with file get contents. Why is this? There we go. So what it's going to do is we're going to have a directory. So let's say the vendor directory. We'll use that as an example. Yeah, there absolutely is. I think it's slightly longer than 15 seconds actually, because I was checking on it a minute ago. So this is the directory, and now I've got to try and remember exactly how to do this. So to do this, it's going to be a recursive directory iterator of directory, which requires a recursive iterator, which requires a new recursive regex iterator. And now I am just going to test something. Where are we? Boom. What was it? It was right. So I'm not going to use Finder because nobody likes to use Symfony Finder. This is what I'm going to use to go through the directory. This is where the fun really comes in. So it's for each files as file. And then we're going to do, what am I going to do? We're going to clean the file. Oh, this font size is huge. Like, this is several times greater than I would ordinarily have it. I can increase it. Let's increase it to 0. Like 2 0. There we go. Is that better? That should be better. It is huge. It is uncomfortably huge. So what I'm actually going to do, you weren't very far wrong with that, Steve, is we're going to use PHP strip white space, and then it's going to be file 0, because for some reason file is an array. And this is going to do, in fact, I will show you what it's going to do. Let me try and remember which one it was. 3. Yeah, it's 3. So if I run, what was it, example.php? There you go. So what it's going to do, I'll tell you what, let me increase the font size in this profile as well, just to make it more legible. Boom, boom. Here we go. Except it has made the window quite a bit bigger. Let's fix that. So let's run that again. So what this does, this PHP strip white space function, is it reads the code from the file you give it, strips the white space, it strips the new lines, it strips out all the comments and all the stuff that would be ignored. So you've got this whole linear thing here, just a single line that contains all of the PHP, which is sort of half of the battle. The next bit is fun. So this is, this was the idea. So you get the tokens for the code. This seemed like a nicer way than using regular expressions to pass the body of it, which is how Composer works. So you do this, and let's say if the array contains something that, let's just do it just for class, token ID equals T class. So what does array filter return? It returns a filtered array. So if not empty, put the classes into an array, which I'm just going to put up here. So recursively iterate through the directory using the regex to match the PHP file. Get all of the PHP source code with no white space or comments. Create tokens for those comments, the core PHP tokens. Filter for the presence of the T class and make sure that it is not empty. If it's not empty, append to the array. In fact, let's do, and we'll do echo class found. And then we'll output that, and then we'll do boom. Now, if I go back to the terminal and run it again, it should output a bunch of stuff. So there you go. So it's identified all of the classes that are classes, not traits. What's the benefit of this over using reflection to get methods and arguments? So initially right now, what I'm doing is trying to identify classes, not reflection. This is the first step. So the first step is the class mapper, to go through the entire project and pull out a map of classes, interfaces, enums, traits, the exact same way that Composer does. So it generates a class map in a very similar way. So in fact, if I do Composer dump autoload and I pass in optimize, it's going to complain at me because I need to use the American spelling. And now if I go back to the browser, the file I'm looking for is called autoload class map. So what Composer has done here is it's class, here's the path for the class. And it's done this for the entire code base. It does this. I don't know if I will be able to see this. No, I won't, because I don't have it installed. But there is a class called class mapper that that generates this. So the idea is, first of all, to identify all of the classes in a similar way to the way Composer works. Try to make it more efficient. So far, it's as fast as Composer, but it just uses more memory. And then from there, generate the metadata. So the metadata will take the place of reflection, and the benefit is the speed. You won't have to reflect. So if you, let's give you an example. So you love roots, right? Hold on, let's go back to the editor. We're already in the editor. So if I create a class here, let's just call it example, and let's say there's a method here called login, and you want it to be a root. So you add the root attribute. You make sure it's a get request. You pass in the path name, and there you go. Now your application needs to build a list of roots. So what it's now got to do is it's now got to scan the whole, either scan the entire project, find every class, use reflection to load every single class, to look through the entire thing to find every method that has this attribute. Or you give it preset list of directories and you say, check this directory, any class that has the root attribute, use that. Now, the inspector generating the metadata will have already reflected upon every class, and it will know every single class that has a method that has the root attribute. So you would do something like this. Is entirely just making this up at the top of my head. So you'd sort of do inspector get methods, and then I don't know, maybe this takes a I don't know, takes an object in there that lets you sort of query this metadata. So you would sort of say inspector get methods query where has attribute root.class, and since this is all stored as a map, as an array, here we would have a full list of so it would be a bit more than this, but essentially root handlers now would contain or it would contain something here that's like login. I don't know the exact structure, but the idea is it would return back an array, and inside that array there'd be this, or there'd be an object that represents this, and then you loop through and you say give me the actual instance of the attribute. Use attributes over root files, and inspector could build or discover the available routes for me. Sort of. So inspector would discover all of the instances where this attribute is used. You'd write code to use the inspector to then generate a root file from that, because you wouldn't have to use reflection. And the benefit is it would be the entire code base, so it would include the vendor directory. So there'd be no more think service providers with Laravel. You register your roots file, you register your languages, your drivers, you extend your classes, you add your bindings to the container. There'd be none of that, or there'd be some of that, but it would severely limit that. You wouldn't have to manually register and manually configure. It would make attributes a far more viable approach. This is working perfectly for the framework that I am building. Like, look at the container. So the container has a whole bunch of attributes. The container object itself, the container class, is a shared class. So instead of registering it as a singleton like you would do in Laravel, I can literally just add the shared attribute and it will automatically be detected. Alias, so it knows that it is an alias of its contract. The factory attribute, which tells the container, so instead of having to pass a closure to the container and saying use this to get a new instance of the container, I use this attribute, and then when the container tries to resolve this class, it sees that there is a method that is registered as a factory, and it will instead just call that method, which works perfectly because this is a singleton. And I think those are the only attributes used in here. But there's quite a few other, ignore that, that's some bits that I'm working on. There are quite a few other attributes. There's inject, which is a great one, which you tell the container once you have resolved this instance, inject this method. So a primary example is, here you go, a container aware trait. Anything that adds this can be told of the container. And as long as you ask the container for an instance of the class that uses this, that container will see this method and automatically call set container. So there's no need to manually say, right, when you do this, do this. There's none of that. Same thing for named. Named is like a named qualifier. So instead of saying like when, so in Laravel it would be when user controller wants guard give and then a closure. To do that, you just would literally add the named attribute with the name, which would be registered with the container. So it's that sort of approach. There's also a qualifier, which is a more specific one. Yeah, basically. So the problem is we got attributes, we got annotations, we got proper attribute and annotation support the ability to attach metadata to classes and methods. However, in its current implementation, it would suck. Having to reflect upon that many things that frequently means it's not a hugely viable thing. No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. You'll love this. The idea for this is Java. When you compile Java, it generates metadata, and when you reflect Java code within the application, it essentially just looks up that metadata. So when you boot the compiled Java, it decompiles the bytecode and then uses that to build the metadata, which is then used to sort of reference it internally to know the sort of structure of it, know where everything is, because Java's core uses some annotations. Not null or non-null is one. It knows to recognize them and to do certain things, which is sort of what I will be doing here. So when you define an attribute, you define an attribute by adding the attribute to it. And then within here, you define it's like a bitwise flag of all of the different values, which are sort of is repeatable, target all, basically saying what it targets. Is there a second? That's it. There's only one argument for that. So using the inspector, the idea is when you tell it to look for an attribute, you'll give it a bunch of directories and you'll give it attributes that you want it to look for. So it's not going to look for every single attribute because there will be some that won't be included. Like, for example, if you're using the JetBrains ones, which I believe I am. Nope, not in there. In here? There we go. So there's JetBrains one that says that it's a pure method that has no side effects. Super simple, but this won't be there in production. So the inspector, if it tried to load this attribute, it's going to get very upset. So the idea is you say, I want you to look for the inject attribute. It inspects this attribute and it can use this to pass to basically validate that it's being used correctly. enjoy the 2 times speed. But yeah, so this, if I can remember, is it 3? Like, I should have just already remembered that, to be honest. So this works. This can now look in the vendor directory and it can identify all of the classes. And then let's put down here total classes, and then just count classes, and then PHP end of line. Boom, done. And then let's see how many. This found 997 classes, which sounds roughly about right. Now, what was it that there we go, Command Shift, auto load class map. Oh, I'm gonna have to do maths in my brain. So 9. Oh my god, 1,105. So it's what, 1,096. 1,096, which means I'm only 99 off. However, that is because I'm only checking for this. So let's create an accepted tokens array. And since T class can be auto-loaded, T interface could be loaded, T trait, T enum, T abstract is just the abstract word. That's all of them, isn't it? Class, interface, trait, enum. Yep. So if anyone's watching this and you're curious as to what tokens are, programming languages are broken down by lexers and parsers. A lexer takes the code and turns it into an array of tokens, and the tokens represent predefined things. So the T class token, for example, represents the word class in the definition of a class. T interface is the same, T trait is the same, T enum. There's like T extends that represents the extends name. There's T namespace, which represents the namespace word, and then you have T fully qualified that represents the value after namespace. The idea is internally it uses these tokens to pass along to the parser so that the parser knows what to do and how to translate that into code that can actually be ran. But if I replace this so that it works, if in array, needle, haystack, I always get those two confused. So if this ID is in the accepted tokens array, which means is it a class, interface, trait, or enum, then it should be considered a valid class. So if I run it now, it should pull up 1102, which means either my maths is terrible. Excuse me 1 second, we have a visitor. Hello? I love you too. Hello. We have 2 visitors. The smallest one is going to the toilet, so she came in to inform me and tell me that she loves me, which is nice. It's a nice thing to have. It's also just occurred to me that the... Hold up. Hold up. Why is the terminal window... There we go. Terminal window is hanging off the bottom. That's annoying. Oh, will you stop with your bloody spam? Steve, you do me a favour and kick that person, please. That's a porn link. So if you want to be scammed via porn, use that link. I wouldn't recommend. Yeah, sorry, the terminal window is up. So now I've got 1102 classes. How? That's not how many... 1105. It starts on line 9. So how am I getting 1102? Oh! Okay. So I am picking up classes that Composer hasn't been told about, or has been told specifically to leave alone. Oh, or am I picking up the actual Composer files? That's interesting. Right. So what is this? Sure. We don't care about files, names. All right, cool. So PSR4, which is the only real one. Autoload real is the actual autoloader. Autoloader static is the same code as is in the class map, but I tell you, everybody, I was going to say boys and girls, everything in between and everyone beyond, don't ever look at the source code for Composer. That's not quite what I'm doing now, but I have done it. I don't recommend it with all seriousness. It is it works. Let's go with that. It definitely works. Okay, so right, you. So there's only 35 entries. That'll do. PSR4, PSR4, PSR4. Oh, class map. What are you? Are you PHP unit by any chance? You love... Oh, no, it's not. Hello.
Can we get it too loud?
What? Can you what?
Can we get the tablet too loud?
Can you get the tablet too loud? She wants the tablet to be too loud.
No, she's asking if it is too loud.
Oh, no, it's fine. Like, that's barely... That won't pick me up. If I step over here, it's going to struggle to pick me up, so you'll be fine. There you go.
Are you still on call?
Don't worry about it. Yeah, I'm streaming. Not on a call. Boom. You go.
Bye.
Don't work with animals or kids. They would throw me off right when I'm... Right. PSR4. Class map. PSR4. Class map. These are all going to be PHP unit related things. Like, yeah, Sebastian loves these class maps. Right. So those are the PSR4s registered with Composer. Autoload real is the autoloader. Files are the static files that I assume don't have classes. Ugh.
And your Netflix.
Oh, you put it on my Netflix. Yeah. Oh no, don't watch that. Oh God. That almost went very badly. There you go. Yeah, it's on your Netflix. It's on child Netflix. You gonna watch Sonic? Yeah. Go watch Sonic then. Go watch Sonic the Hedgehog. He is really fast. Yeah. Just opened Netflix and accidentally put it on my account. So like, I don't know what the first trailer that automatically played was, but I'm gonna assume it was not okay for 3-year-olds. Yeah. So they didn't have any classes in. So where is he getting this class map list from? Okay. So what happens if I run the dump autoload without the optimizer? Will it clear out that directory? So now the class map only contains things that are... No, it doesn't. God damn it. Okay, so I'll tell you what. Be gone. CD... Let's just install everything again. Hello. There you go. Don't know why I did that. That was just generated the auto. Okay. Right, there's definitely a composer directory there. So that's what I was thinking, but the problem is, so it has the PSR4, which is fine, but then it has the class map. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you know what? So what are we looking for? We're looking for the word class map, and it appears 25 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know why I'm doing this, because it says the number next to it. Right. So, when you don't run an optimized class map loader, Composer will generate a class map autoloader for any packages that are marked as class map in the Composer autoload settings. Okay. So I am somehow, somewhere, picking up files that are not, that Composer doesn't know about, which I suppose isn't the end of the world. This is actually just a pure example of of what it's going to be doing. So I already have here the sort of the inspector, sort of the ability to load the classes. And in fact, if I, what was the command? Right. So if I do, see, I was playing with this the other day. Let me do. I believe it's. Of course, it's not. Vendor bin PHP bench. Run. Run. Code bench. Nope, that didn't work. Right. Or so what is it? It's going to be source. It's going to be called parse. Is it going to be called code parsing? Or is it run code parsing? That's really annoying. Am I just being an idiot right now? I suspect that I am being an idiot. I was running this the other day. What was I running? What was the command that I was running? What was it? None of those were the buttons I meant to press. Right. So how do you run PHP bench? Because I was absolutely doing this the other day and it was absolutely working. Ah. So you run. God damn it! There we go. So this was me playing around with building a class mapper the other day. It's set to run 5 times. Should give us a bit more information than that. Hold on. Let's so why have I got some nonsense in here that just exits? Yeah, so see, this is what I was playing with the other day. Only matching PSR4 stuff. Why is that not giving me any? Like, this was giving me output. That's very weird, but let's just ignore that and pretend none of that even happened. So, back to the inspector. So this is roughly what's doing. It might not be exactly what I wanted it to do. It might be doing. Oh, I'm not even in the right directory. Simple PHP inspector, and then it's going to be PHP example.php. I don't want to output my history because there could be any number of things in there that shouldn't be in there. Okay, so ignoring the fact that it has found more than Composer has, are any of them actually Composer? In fact, let's substring you, and we will start at string length directory +1. Oh, yep, you are absolutely correct. That is not how you do PHP. So this should, in theory, strip the... There you go, that's much better. So is this loading some of the Composer classes? It is. I am what, 6? So by my calculation, there should be 1096 classes. So this brings it down to 1098. But somewhere in here are 2 things that are ordinarily being ignored by Composer. I am unsure why I care that much, because it's actually not relevant. Steve, you were onto something earlier. It would be great if there's a class map there. I would just use the Composer one to identify and go through everything. Everything is... why would I care, Reddit? Everything. I've completely lost my train of thought. It would be great to use the Composer class map, but I can't always guarantee that it's going to be there. And also, I might actually build my own Composer at some point. It depends whether I have the time and whether I want to. I want to. Whether I really want to. There's going to be something in here that's ordinarily ignored, but that's fine. We'll leave that as it is. So what I've got to do is turn this idea into a package. And I think the first thing I want to have to do is build the class mapper. So let's get rid of the container, inspector, boom. Let's start adding directories. So the contracts directory, but spelt correctly. What else are we going to have? That'll do for now. Let's add a concerns directory for traits. And let's add a class mapper. And we'll have a class mapper interface. Oh, what methods does a class mapper need? A class mapper needs you to be able to add directories. So let's add path. Add path. Would it be add path? Would it be register? See, this is the bit that I always fall down on. Like, I can write the code to do the thing. It's naming the code to do the thing. That's really where I end up sucking quite badly at this. Just out of curiosity, can you hear the background music now? Because I can hear it. I think it sounds awesome, but you might not be able to hear it. It's not, interestingly... It is... There you go. That should have just suddenly kicked in quite loudly. No strict... So... this is because... Where are we? I don't remember where it all is. Not in there. File and code templates. So I've recently wiped the map book. I'm gonna leave the template because I had a specific template. So I'll just there you go. Declare strict types 1. Yeah, I realised. So I've got a thing set up to basically loop it all back. But it was only playing to my AirPods. It was only me that could hear it, which is fine because I quite enjoy it for coded music. This is an experimental stream. It's the first one to see how it goes. It's Besides the porn links that are being posted every so often, it's not going too bad. But yeah, so the class mapper. So the class mapper, you have to be able to add a path. The add path would make sense, but I want to keep it smaller. I want to keep it simpler. Like, I like the idea of add. So if you do add for like the path, and then let's have. Oh, see, that's the problem. Pattern, and then strategy, and then we create a path strategy interface. The idea being that there would be an implementation for the different types of strategy. So PSR4, PSR0, which is dead, but some people use it because they're mental. Class map. What it basically, a strategy for that path that tells it how to marry up the presence of a file and the presence of a class. So, for example, a PSR4 path strategy would literally just tokenize a file and go, yep, you have a class and I know what path you are. I know what your namespace is because I can work it out based on your path because I know that. PSR0 would be roughly the same, but there are other places like, say, a class map path strategy, or just a scan path strategy might be its name, I don't know. It would have to go through and it would have to pass the tokens to say, right, this is your class name and it belongs to this namespace because this namespace definition exists in this file. It becomes quite... so yeah, we'll do that, and that can be static. So add for adding a path, register. Yeah, so the only thing... Oh, no, I'm thinking of the inspector. So we don't need that here, do we? We just need... Or do I make it a fully fluent thing like Symphony Finder? There's so much of this. Okay, no, let's just leave it as that. And then we'll have a map method which returns itself again. And let's look at the path strategy. So okay, so path strategy would have to scan a particular path, which in this instance would be a file. So let's call this file path just to be a bit more. And then we'll have a referenced array of classes. So it just appends the class and then returns, I don't know, nothing. It doesn't really need to return, does it? So that's fine. And what I will actually do is I'm going to create a implementation of this. So let's call it PSR4 path strategy, and it's going to implement path strategy. Boom. Wait. What are you? Go away. Oh, I've been putting them in the concerns directory. Why did nobody point this out? There we go. Right. So the PSR4 path strategy. It gets a particular file path. So let's do if. So it could literally be if this contains This what this contains class file path return this create fully qualified class name from the file path. But see, we're gonna have to do, it's gonna have to be given the base path. So the idea is you'd give this the path to my source directory, and then the file path would be like path strategy. So contains class. Do you know what? Let's create an abstract class called base strategy. Implements path strategy, and it is an abstract class, and you extend the base strategy. And let's create the class, but we're going to put this in the base strategy class. It needs to be protected so it can be accessed, and this is going to do this basically. So let's call this private constant. The constants have types. I can never remember whether constants have types. Accepted tokens. No, they do not have types, do they? Thought I'd imagine that. So this would do clean code, PHP, strip white space for the file path, and then we're going to get the tokens, and the tokens, it's, what was it? PHP token, tokenize, clean code, and then we're going to return not empty array filter tokens fn path token, no, PHP token. Hello. Should be back now. I'm not sure what happened there. OBS went mad. So I just paused and had to sit down for a minute in my chair. Because I'm stood up. And also put Evie to bed because she'd just fallen asleep watching Sonic. I've lost it. Yeah, so it looks like it just dropped in the middle of, I believe, me doing this, which means you missed a whole bunch of stuff. So I'll just go back over. So basically, I was building the PSR4 path strategy. PSR4 path strategy is going to require a namespace, as it always is. And then the scan directory. First thing I'm going to do is check if it contains a class. The contains a class. It's going to do the thing I did in the example code at the start that checks to see if it's one of the accepted tokens. And then it's then going to get the fully qualified class name, which it does because it's PSR4. We need to replace the base path with the namespace, the directory separator with the namespace separator, and the extension with nothing in the file path. And this should, in theory, return what we want it to return. And the reason this is an array is because there are going to be times when a single file would include multiple classes. That would be silly, and nobody should ever do that, but people do that. And I can't make everyone behave. So okay, so let's clear this file, and let's require vendor, and then we'll do the auto load. And in fact, we can do, I suddenly just forgot how to spell strategy. So let's do PSR4 path strategy, and let's do simple inspector, and then what I will do So I'm going to undo the fact that I deleted all of the content in here. There we go. So I'm going to require you, and the directory we're going to do is going to be source. And then remove all of this. I can just do classes equals. So classes, so I can never remember the best way to do this, but I'm pretty sure this will tell me the best way to do it. And we want to do strategy, scan, base path is directory, current path is, oh no, oh, I'm an idiot. Strategy, scan, actually no, like I am an idiot, but for a different reason. Directory, and then give it the actual path. Let's call this found classes actually. If is not empty, found classes. This is where we do this. And let's put you in there. So classes found will implode by comma and space the found classes, and then classes equals, no, we don't want to merge recursively. Tell that to merge itself. And this, I'm going to remove this because we can return. We can just return. We don't want to pass in a referenced array. That is not very nice. So in theory, assuming that my code is correct, I have been known to write correct code once or twice. This should break horribly. Oh, because I've got... There we go. It works. It can pass a PSR4 path. Let's pick another random directory. So let's just test this. Nikki C, what are you using as your auto load? PSR4. Good man. So this is the namespace, and your path is vendor Nikki C, PHP parser, source. You broke. Why did you break? Because it's not source, is it? It's the lib directory. Goddamn liberals. Boom! There we go. So the PSR4 strategy works. What is... Do you know what? Hey, this works. Hold on 1 second. Why is the hotkey not working for that? So you're what? 3, 2. You should be 4. So what? IDE. Console. Browser. Right. PSR 0. This is going to be a bit small for some of you. Is this still? Yeah, because it's set to 100%. Right, so what does this define? A fully qualified namespace and class must have the following structure: vendor namespace, class name, each namespace of a... Each underscore character in the class name is converted to a directory separator. Okay, so let's just not support this and assume that anyone who does support this is utterly mental and we don't want anything to do with them. That's fine. So that's one strategy. That's the PSR4 path strategy. But how do we do the next strategy? Let's just call it the class map path strategy, where it just tries to find as many classes as it can. Let's go to the base strategy. There we go. So this is going to use, it's going to use this. Okay, so I need this in here. This is where the fun really kicks in. Hello, Dan. Now we've got to go through these. Oh, Let's just dump it out. Token get token name, token ID, and then let's do token text. And then where's example? There you are. If I replace you with class map path strategy, remove the namespace from here. Do this. Now, if I run this, it should dump me through the wait, what? Idiot. It should error horribly. Return value must be of type array. Okay. So you'll just return an empty array for now, and then example PHP be gone, be gone, be gone. Right, here we go. So it's more. So what we need to look for is namespace. Oh, use. Okay. Right. So let's have levels 0. Because that's going to be important because of curly braces. Namespaces, classes. Right. Okay. So this is where I properly need something to walk through the tokens. Yeah, so I'm going to have to create abstract it out. I need something to walk through the tokens. Like I need to be able to peek ahead. What do we have in ways of iterators for PHP? Yeah, I just want PHP though. That is absolutely not what I wanted. So we want iterator in all places. APC, APCU, append iterator, array iterator. Caching iterator. There's more. Oh, give me more. Let's have a look. These are all. I don't want third-party ones. Let's look at array iterator. Yeah, we don't really want to do that, do we? What's this up here? What are you? Besides, insanely long. Oh, you're an array object. That's boring. So the array iterator. What is that going to do? Oh, do you know what? Where are you? Empty tray, callback, filter, recursive. Where? Iterator. My favorite kind. Yeah, I think I do need to iterate using an iterator. What is a limit iterator? Weird, but okay. Kind of stuff like just iterator. Like, there was an iterator, I suppose. Oh, hold on. Boom. Collapse all of them. Iterator. What are you? Think of anything that is traversable into an iterator. Ooh. This could work. Possibly. Yeah, right. Let's give this a go. Let's give the iterator a go. So let's have a new iterator, which takes the tokens, which it is upset about. Wait, isn't the traversable, isn't that an interface? Like one that you can't actually implement yourself. It's like a... Yeah. Oh shit, array. Arrays aren't technically traversable, are they? God damn it. So what does an array iterator let me do? It's quite annoying that there's not just iterator. I really don't understand the point of the limit iterator. Like, everything lets you iterate over a limited set of things because, like, they all have a limited set of things. Like, oh, I don't know. I am building a class mapper. I'm building something to identify classes. So let's just do iterator. Let's just do an array iterator. So we're gonna want to do while current equals iterator current. Possibly this might create an infinite loop. The last thing it needs to do is it needs to iterate. So what we're going to do is so current is going to be an instance of PHP token. So if current ID is is T namespace, then we know then iterate next. So we know the next one is going to be a space. So this is a bit of a sloppy way of doing it. If iterator current is T white space, then we know that the next value is the actual namespace name. So we'll do this. So if current is T string, it should be, I think. T string, then namespaces equals current text. In theory. So, and then let's just dump namespaces here and exit. Now let's go to the trusty command terminal where I'm just going to debug stuff. Yes. Now what happens if so that's because it's still using the PHP parser. What happens if I do this? If I change it to, oh, that's interesting. Let's echo. Why? Oh, that's interesting. Let's dump out the tokens because that seems so namespace, white space. Is it white space? 392 is white space. 392 is white space. So, this is where I love just putting in echo statements as debugs. Is white space. And then you can be is string. We'll remove you from there. Is namespace is what? Okay, so what, pray tell, is current? Oh no, I put that in the wrong place, didn't I? So I want to dump current after I get the white space. What are you? What is 265? So 265. T name qualified. Wait. Oh, that's interesting. So if it's a string or it's qualified. So okay. That's interesting. That's a little thing that I didn't know until now. So the PHP parser. So I believe the first class it would do. Let's just say this class. So it would treat this as a string, but it would treat this as T name qualified. So if I go back to my trusty console, yeah, okay, what am I dumping out? Yeah, so it's building up namespaces, okay. Okay. So that only handles one type of namespace, unfortunately. So what is the first class that it does? Class map path strategy. Wait, that's interesting that it does that one first. Class map path strategy. I wonder why it does that one. Can I beat it with a class? Okay. Because wait, I was pressing the wrong shortcut to mute the microphone. Oh well. So let's change this so it uses the test directory. And okay, right. So this is where it gets fun. So it's entirely possible to do it like this. And then namespace inspector, and then we'll have tests. And it's going to shout at me, but I don't think. So it says they should use the same one. Is that going to error? Oh, I forgot to check. So, oh. No, this is fine. This works well. So. I've realised I hadn't switched to the editor. So it is possible to do this. It's shouting at me, so I can. Does it have something to do? Yeah, there we go. So it is possible to do this. And if I do this, I know that it can pick up that namespace. Interesting. Okay. So you can't have nested namespace definitions. So I don't need you. Current namespace. So we want to do current namespace is this, else current namespace is empty string. And the reason we want to do this is it is possible for you to have a namespace definition to define something within the global namespace. It would be a horrible thing to do, and anybody who does it should be severely punished. So we would keep going until you are now a protected constant. Until there we go. So if in fact we can just do if in array. If in array current ID is in static accepted tokens, then we are a class. Hello. So here we're gonna no, we don't want to break, do we? we want to continue. We want to iterator next, don't we? So you should continue there. So if this is a class, then oh god, then the next, it should be the same as before. So it should be a white space, and then this should be the definition of whatever it is. So we'll go back here. Oh, it's because I'm... wait, what? Good old echo debugging. Curious. Let's just dump out get token name. White space, class. Oh, hold on. I'm missing an iterator next. There we go. So, current get token name. So t-string. So, theoretically, if we can do if current is t-string, then classes can be current namespace dot current text, at which point we're gonna iterate next and continue. We're gonna remove you, and then here we're gonna dump the classes, and running this on this file should, in theory, there we go. So we can detect using the class map path strategy. We can detect all of the classes in a directory. I don't want to remove you. So I could break all of this up, to be totally honest with you. It's very simple. So what this is going to do is this will scan a file. It will break it down into tokens, and it will look for namespace definitions. It's not going to care about braces simply because namespaces cannot be nested. It's going to do white space. Oh, I tell you what, let's allow, so you can then set, so with those, if I put a class here, this should now be a global class. This should be a global. Okay, so that should still work. PHP Storm's going to be mad at me about it, but it should just exit. Okay. Let's hold on. I'm not gonna bother switching backwards forwards. So if I switch that to the global namespace and then do it again, it's going to error. So what is example.php? Boom, boom, boom. Oh, I'll tell you what, it's erroring because I removed the bit that actually dumped out the result. So this should work. Okay, so hold on, let me just report that where somebody's just gonna spam pornography links. So that works. However, this, while the editor is going to shout at me, is technically going to be valid PHP. However, it's misreading C class. So, let's do you. And then if current is on curly open, then we're gonna do levels go up by 1, else if current is t curly. Oh wait, holy shit, is there not? What? Hold up. Wait, what? There's not a... That doesn't feel right. Tell you what, let's just delete all of these classes for now. And let's just have the... let's just have you dump out, get token name. In fact, let's echo it. Let's just echo out the current name with PHP end of line. And then continue, so none of that code below gets ran. Oh, let's just make sure that we actually iterate and we don't just loop over the same token infinitely. We get to what? Open tag white space, namespace, white space, name qualified white space. Ah, so that token doesn't have a name. 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 5. It's weird that they don't have... Their name is the closing character. That is peculiar. Okay, so... if you are... you. No, wait, what? That's the wrong bit. Is it the wrong bit? Did I click back too many times? So if current is you, then we're going to go into a level. Else, if the current is you, then we're going to want to go down a level. Right? So if the level is 0, it means that we've exited the namespace. So the current namespace becomes empty. And then if I go back to this class and do this, it's going to be mad at me. But in theory, there we go. I can't think of any other use cases, not use cases, any other test cases for this. So we've got, and then let's create a D class. If anyone's a fan of SCP, that's a good one. So there we go. So we have one that matches the namespace according to the PSR4 spec or the file path. We have a globally namespaced one. We have a second globally namespace class that's using a curly brace namespace definition. And then we have a final namespace definition that uses a custom namespace. So this code should, in theory, be able to detect the A class that belongs to the test, the C class, which is global, the D class, which is global, and the B class, which belongs to tests. And there we go. A class, C class, D class, B class. So I think... Oh no, but I'm using curly braces. Actually, no, that's not an issue. So what I was thinking of then is if I did this. However, that wouldn't matter because, let's put you back, because anything within, let's call it testes, anything after that, even though it's shouting at me, anything that isn't within a curly bit is going to inherit this. So let me just test this. Okay, yeah, that works. What happens if I add another globally namespaced F class? It works, although it doesn't need the preceding. Does it? So, current namespace, boom. Hold on. You or you. Boom, done. There we go. Let's clean that up. So this is actually going surprisingly well. It is 10 to 10. I was gonna go off at 10. I was gonna do sort of just a normal 2-hour stream. I should probably start wrapping things up. So for any people who joined after the start, as I said before, this is a bit. That was absolutely not the button I meant to click. This is a bit of an experimental stream. We obviously had a bit of a cock up right in the middle where it just went offline. It's experimental stream in that it's the first time that I'm recording, or rather that I'm streaming, not that I'm recording. And I'm also working on a experimental piece of code. For anyone who wasn't sure what I was doing, I'm building an inspector, a class inspector. And this class inspector is going to do is it's going to be able to look at a directory, which is what I was doing here in the example file. It's going to be able to look at a directory, pull out all of the files given a particular strategy, and identify classes, enums, interfaces, traits. Can be used for auto loading. And then once it's done that, once it's generated those, you're just going to use this scan method. Once it's identified these, it builds up a list of the classes and then reflects upon them and then generates a whole bunch of stored metadata. And I really do believe if I can get this working, if I can get this efficient and I can get it working, it could make attributes in PHP far more viable than they currently are, because we're not going to have to throw reflection everywhere. We can literally just read from a map. And the map is going to get its data from some static files that can either be one file with all of the data or split across multiple files. It can be loaded using opcache. We can cache some of the values in APC. Like, there's a lot we can do. But I really do think this is going to help. Yeah. But what I did actually manage to do, after playing around with it a bit, in this stream, was created the base class mapper interface, which lets you add a path with a pattern, and then give it a strategy. I did the strategy interface, which just tells it how to pass that directory basically, which is why we introduced the PSR4 path strategy that is capable of identifying a class, which, to be honest, no longer needs to be in there. It can just be in here because it's not used by anything else. That knows how to look at a directory. It knows how to identify a class. So what it does is it tokenizes the file and it just looks, does it have a class, an interface, a trait, or an enum token? If it does, boom, it's a valid class. We know it's PSR4, so we know there'll only ever be one file in here. So get the fully qualified class name, and the fully qualified class name is going to be the base path replaced with the namespace, directory separator replaced with the namespace separator, and then just the extension replaced with nothing. And then that's the name of the class, because that's how PSR4 works. It gets more complicated with the class map, where the class map path strategy will look in every single file and try to find a class. It does the same principle really. It tokenizes it. It then iterates through the tokens, looks for namespace definitions. As soon as it finds a namespace definition, it sets the current namespace. Namespaces will always be namespace, whitespace, and then either a string or a fully qualified or a name qualified. Name qualified is only used when the namespace separator is found in there. If, for example, this file just belonged to SMPL, it would be a T string. I've lost myself. Where am I? It would be a T string. In fact, let's actually add that. To prove that, you can be G class. And let's go to the console. Watch this not bloody work. There we go. So if I just go back, I'm not going to show you this bit. If I just remove the T string bit, that should not pick up G class properly. There we go. So it's not picked up that G class belongs to a namespace, because this namespace doesn't have the namespace operator. So it's being treated as a string token. So here, if it's a string or a fully qualified name, get the current namespace, hit the next iterator, and then continue. I can probably... Do you know what? I can probably, if I make all of this one big if statement, which is probably horrible, I can just piggyback on this iterator next down the bottom. To be honest, the match statement might be good here. Possibly. The console I'm using, iTerm2. iTerm v2. I think iTerm v2. Yes. iTerm2. I've got all my ZSH installed and power level 10k, 4k, 9k, 10k. Hold on. I'm gonna Google this. That's a very good question. Yeah, power level 10k. It's a theme for all my ZSH, or just ZSH. Actually, just a ZSH theme. That's why I've got the way that I have this. So I think, sort of wrapping it up for me, I am going to I think I'm gonna go ahead and commit this. I'm gonna tidy it up. I'm gonna remove that test class. Yeah. So thanks to those of you who dropped in. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it made sense. I know there are times when I get a bit carried away. I just start mumbling and just writing code. But yeah, I hope it was useful. It's quite an interesting, quite a fun thing to do. Hopefully, some of you might have learned something. You might have been unaware of how tokens work or how PHP internally defines the structure of stuff. I doubt it'll be useful. It'll probably never come up in your day-to-day life, but it's interesting to have. So yeah, that's it for me. I'm going to commit some of this. I'll be back next Wednesday. Hopefully we won't have the cock up in the middle where I just drop 98% of frames, which was, I think the encoder crashed. I don't know why. Should be using the eGPU. Maybe the eGPU is just upset. Yeah, so I should be back. I might try and do more frequent ones. It depends. I have kids, as you saw. The kids appeared during this, so it happens. Yeah, so I might also try and do some videos like this, using these same sort of graphics, but with sort of like a dev diary, because I am doing this. There is a GitHub. I think there's a GitHub. Is there a GitHub? There's a GitHub. There's a GitHub. There's a GitHub. Where I'm sort of building stuff. Ignore that you can actually see all of the ones that I made private. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So at the moment there's only the container. There's a couple of other bits that I'm working on. There's also oh my god, what is happening? I just clicked so many buttons and all of them were absolutely wrong. The website is there, doesn't really have much. But yeah, I think I'll be doing this with the stream. I'll be working on this SMPL, Simple Modern PHP Libraries is what SMPL stands for. Yeah, so I'll be trying to do some more of this in the future. I've got a Discord. The link is there. Is the link. So feel free to drop on there and ask me any questions. I'm also, if any of you are on Steve's Discord, I'm on Steve's Discord, annoying him. You can tell the difference between the two of us. I'm the one with hair, well, on this part of my head at the very least. Yeah, so thanks for tuning in. I will see you probably next Wednesday, unless I get time over the weekend to do more. Goodbye.